Curtis, I'm in my office chair today, and it's kind of squeaky. Normally, I like to try and get our kitchen chair because I can't move in it. I'm one of those, like, I'm a rocker, and my chair's all squeaky. I totally forgot to do that when we were setting up today. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Backyard Tabletop.
What a problem to have.
What a problem to have. Oh, man. Curtis, it's been a little bit. I'm so happy to be back here recording. Hi.
I'm standing.
You're a stander for the podcast.
In about a 2x2 square. So
I think I would maybe like that a little better one day, to be standing. I think the whole time we've been recording this podcast, which, oh man, we're probably coming up on a year at this point, huh? Pretty consistently. Like October of last year? That's kind of, that just now dawned on me.
Time marches ever onward.
Just slowly zoom in on your face.
Death comes for us all.
Time is a weird soup.
The shadows of those that came before.
I might put on some fun movies. We'll see what Future Jake does with that. That'll be super fun.
I like Future Jake.
Oh, man,
he's a fun guy.
I don't see him very much these days, but hopefully he's doing good. Oh, if you are just now joining us, I'm Jake.
I'm Curtis. I never introduced myself.
Yeah, and we're the Backyard Tabletop. We do this podcast because this is kind of a great excuse for Curtis and I to talk about our wonderful hobby of Dungeons and Dragons, TTRPGs, mainly in the form of Dungeons and Dragons. But Curtis and I play in Pathfinder games, though our Dungeon Master converts it to 5e because it's the one that we are all similar with. All the Pathfinders are like the previous edition of Pathfinder, so it would be even more difficult, I think, for him to convert it to I don't know. It's a whole thing, but for the most part, we keep it 5e around here.
Yeah, we keep it 5e here. And on Wednesdays, we wear pink.
Yes, indeed. Man. Well, so typically what we do is we will talk about our games that we're in. Curtis is in a game. I'm in a game. We like to just catch each other up on those endeavors. But first, Curtis, I want to ask you about a very prominent thing in the D&D community. It's a meme. It's a thing that a lot of people talk about. It's very much a thing. It's like at first you don't think it's going to be a thing, but then you start playing and then you just suddenly want more of them. And it gets to the point where you're either so obsessed with it or just kind of like, you know what, I think I'm good. And that's dice.
Oh, okay.
I was like really wanting to see where I was going with that. Huh? I want to ask about your dice
really
collection,
curious.
Curtis.
My dice collection.
Are you as the internet has coined, are you a dice goblin? How do you feel about dice?
So I would not consider myself a dice goblin.
Curtis considered himself a dice dragon.
I was just about to say that, Jacob. You stole it right out from under me because
I'm so sorry.
because here's the thing. Goblins are like, I don't care what it is. I'm gonna grab it. I'm gonna get it. Any math box. I'll take them all. Give them all to me, and I'll get a big ball of them, and just who cares? Whereas dragons, they precisely pick their horde, and they have the most beautiful ones. And they like the ones that they like, and they have specific tastes. Every dragon has a different kind of horde. Mm-hmm, and that's me. I'm not like, I need 300 sets of dice. I'm like, I don't buy new dice unless it's a set that's like, okay, I have to have that. Like, yes. All my dice sets are like jewels or like actual rocks or glass or like super special like handmade sets that are one of a kind, like all of that kind of stuff.
Special resin ones.
So, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
Just because my dice sets are more expensive than the average person's, I still think I probably spend less on dice than most dice goblins do. Because even though, let's see, what's the most? Oh, that's going to be embarrassing. I'm not going to say that. The second most I've ever spent on a dice set is probably like $350 on one set.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't think I've spent that much. Okay. Wow.
And it was a set of bloodstone dice.
Ooh.
So they're
nice.
real heavy, real stone, and they're beautiful. I love bloodstone. It's very pretty.
That's awesome. That's really, you have put a lot of thought into your dice, and I feel like this, honestly, I think you can tell a lot about a person when it comes to like what dice they select, and I think this tells me a lot about you. You like you don't mind spending an extra few dollars to get something really nice and to know that it'll last you a while and be special.
Yeah, I'm not like a whore. I mean, don't take that out of context. I stopped a little too soon there. I'm not
Curtis, you took my latest video and totally made it to like Jake likes feet. I am totally gonna just take that
I didn't
snippet.
post that anywhere. That was shared between friends.
That's true. That's
I
fair.
can pull it
That's
up right
fair.
now if you want. No, so I don't like having tons of sets of dice. I'm like, no, I don't need a lot of dice. I'd say the only time I buy just kind of random sets is when it's like I've bought a few sets of dice specifically for characters that I played to like to be like I loved playing this character so much. It was so cool. I'm going to buy this set that reminds me of them. So that anytime I play with that set, I remember that. And it was
the character.
And it's sort of like a memorial set.
Yes.
But I'm of the opinion like I need like as a DM like 4 sets of dice max, maybe a few extra D8s or D10s or whatever, D6s, just for those random spells or sneak attacks. Like, I don't. Yeah. If I had 80 sets of dice, 70 of those would never be played with.
Yep.
And now don't get me. Well, but don't get me wrong though. Like having a set of dice just for looks is fine. Like they are works of art sometimes. I have
100%. Yeah.
The most expensive singular die I ever bought is a D20 made out of meteorite.
That's rad.
And it's very little. I've seen this one. It's like this. It's like half size for a D20.
Yeah.
But I just keep that on my desk and I just look at it because I think it's pretty, and I don't play with it because I don't want it to crack or anything.
It's just super cool to have. Yeah, 100%. That's really cool. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I don't, I honestly think the most I've spent on a dice is maybe $70 or $75. I haven't bought any of those super nice ones. I think one day I would love to, if I had the right character, or maybe it was one of those things where it was a really awesome campaign that was very memorable. I might buy me a set for that. Honestly, the dice set I think I use most as a game master are this is the set that comes with the essentials kit. They're red. That has 2d20. Like it has 46.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that's the one I use the most because it has the advantage. It has the D6s for like sneak attack or something like that.
Well, because also
for fireball or something.
Also, if you're not playing at home as a player, yeah, sure, grab that giant bag of dice and just take it with you. But as a DM, it's like, not only do I have dice, I have my screen, my books, my notes,
Yeah.
my minis, my everything else. So
Right.
having one set that has everything you need in it, that's more than a full set of dice, but, still one set,
Right.
is so nice to just be able to grab that and
Yeah.
throw it in your bag and go. If you're playing
Just-
at home
just
all the
run.
time, like if everyone plays at your house, then it's fine.
You're-
Use all
you're
the dice
set.
you want,
Yeah.
but
You're set. I being subscribed to Critical Dice's subscription bag once a month.
Yeah.
It got to the point where it's like, wow, what am I going to do with all this dice?
Yeah.
For those, it's just nice to have, because I am very much that guy that loves to, for the players that I teach Dungeons and Dragons to, I will give their first set of dice. So like the creative writing club I ran with all the students, that that was really fun to just be able to grab. Like I have a huge grocery bag worth of dice that's all individually packaged, so they get to have their own set of dice, and it's really cool to give them that. For Christmas last year, we got to teach Sarah's sister and her boyfriend Dungeons and Dragons, so I got to bring them dice and give them dice around Christmas. It was super fun. So I like to keep extra dice around for that reason. But honestly, like I think I have a set that I bought with Sarah on our honeymoon, which is a really wonderful pair of dice. It's like a metal set. Hers was like a hollow, like the wire hollow ones that are really cool. They have like this thing in there that kind of jingle a little bit when you roll. Super nice. So those are very memorable ones.
Wow. I have a set like that too. It was from
I have these little
Kickstarter.
baby dice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that I
those are
keep in
great.
a little vial. That I love just having these like in my backpack or something.
Just always with you,
It's
just in case a game breaks out.
Exactly. You never know. I
never know.
keep extra dice in my backpack just in case. You never know when you're gonna need some dice.
Yeah. Hey guys,
But
you want to play D&D right now? Hey, we've done it.
So I don't know what the equivalent of like not a dice goblin. It's like I like to hoard things to give things away. I don't know what that would be.
You're a dice Santa Claus.
It's something like that. It's like a dice flump. Do flumps are lawful good? I can't.
A dice
would be a
bag of
fun
holding.
one. A dice bag of holding.
That's you're a dice bag man. Oh,
Dice bag man. I like it. I'm the bag man.
the bag man. Ugh. You guys never really. We need to get back in a Curse of Straw someday, man. We got to finish that.
Yeah, we do.
It's gonna happen.
Well,
So many things. I'm like just waiting to reveal. Oh, such a good game.
yeah.
I think some of my. Well, the problem right now is that all my games are online, so I don't use real dice that often, unfortunately. I mean, I could use them in our online games, but it's just so much simpler and so much easier to just trust people when you're using regular set. Like, whenever I DM online, I'm like, yeah, use physical dice. It's fine, because I don't care.
Yeah, that's how I am.
I trust my players, and that's fine. Even if they do cheat a teensy bit, it's not a big deal to me.
Or the classic just didn't add things correctly.
If they're critting, I have a high passive insight. So if they're critting every other time they roll, I'm gonna know something's up.
Oh yeah.
But no, like I like giving people a chance to use their real dice, because I know a lot of the people we play with, it means a lot to them.
Just going back to what you said earlier, I do like buying a new set of dice for a new character. Making that new character and then getting that dice for that character is just something that is very special. It's just kind of cool to just have that set, that it's when you go to get ready for the game and get your notebook and kind of get your stuff together, just pulling out that set is just, sometimes it helps you get into character.
Usually
at least for me.
Usually I don't buy a new set when I make a character. Usually,
otherwise that'd be every other day.
Well, yeah. No, but I mean, like, I'm a character goblin, not a dice goblin, Jake.
I know for me, it's let me clarify. It's like not every time I'm making a new character.
No.
Be when I go to sit down, make one for a new campaign.
Yeah, every time the campaign
I guess,
is ready and you know the character you're going to play for that campaign, you get some dice for
Yeah.
them. I don't do that. I'll usually pick and grab dice from my current sets to make like a bespoke set for them.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
If I'm making a new character.
Yeah.
And then what happens is if I really like the character and it's going super well and it's like a crazy memorable character, I bought a dice set for Cormac, my warlock gunslinger fighter.
Gunslinger warlock, yeah.
Because I loved Cormac so much. And it was like, it's not that I bought the set to play with. I bought the set to remind me of him when I play other games, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, that's super cool. I like that. I like the remembering a character. It's the D&D way of kind of getting art made for your character.
Well, and
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not every time, having to, I will usually get art commissioned for a new character when it's a big campaign, but dice is also just another little thing that I like to do for the characters.
I've gotten art done for, like Dips games just because I know, that if they don't die, this character's going to be in play for like 2 years almost. So if not longer. So it's kind of worth it in that case,
There's just something it's definitely worth it. Something special about it. Helps you get into the mind of the character. Just kind of it's just cool to reveal, because sometimes, everyone has leather armor, but when you can go in and like customize how your leather armor looks can be really fun, Yeah, it's and making sure it's like not every half plate is the same, not every chainmail is the same. Having it look a little bit different, adding those colors you like.
Not every rapier is the same. Not every warhammer. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very good. Not every tiefling is a pretty boy.
Have you ever made a tiefling that's not a pretty boy? I don't know if I've ever seen.
I was gonna say Karkat, but he's kind of a pretty boy.
He's
a barbarian.
Boy. He was like a gym pretty boy.
Yeah, he wasn't
like boy band pretty boy. He was
like I have a man bun and a beard, but I get a haircut every week and I trim my beard every day.
Yeah.
So it's like I want to look like a Viking, but I also want to go to work.
Yeah. Exactly. I need to look presentable.
Yeah.
It's the people that always have like the huge beards, but like it's always so groomed.
Yeah. Well, and the reason I did that was because he's like of two souls. Like he's a barbarian, but he's from nobility. So he still has the habits. But he's also still edgy.
Yeah. Oh, that's how we do around here. I love it.
Anyway.
Oh man. Well, thank you for telling me about your dice.
You know what we need to do, Jake? One of these days we need to just go over like our actual characters we've played for lengths of time.
Ooh, that would be cool.
And just like talk about them like we're doing an OC reveal podcast.
That would be cool.
That would be really fun. We
art commissioned, we can reveal it. That might be like a fun like holiday episode or something like that, like a special episode. We'll keep that in mind. If you guys want to see that sooner, let us know. But until then.
So Jake, what's going on in the frozen north?
Oh man, it's been a little bit since we.
Actually, you're not in the frozen north, are you?
No, we are probably in the frozen
northeast.
East, the frozen northeast, because we recently just changed. Now, just for everyone at home and for Curtis, might be looking at the notebook a lot today. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to get the notes to my computer, but we're just gonna pretend like this is story time, like pulling out a book.
Tell me a story.
Get your cup of tea, get your coffee, whatever it is that you are enjoying today, and it's just going to be a little cozy by the fire, even though it's freaking hot in September. Wow, Curtis got really like, wow, this is like almost intimate right now.
Tell me a story.
I love that. Well,
Hold on,
if you recall, Curtis, this is also just for me to recall as well. Yeah,
I'm switching to
Curtis
firelight.
Get
Firelight.
Ooh, like a campfire.
Yeah.
The campfire backyard. We are starting to get to fall time, and I do kind of miss those. Never really have been the backyard.
I'm wearing fall colors
but
in anticipation.
Yeah, where I'm
willing it to come faster.
These mornings, it's just teasing fall ever so slightly, and then it gets
so
really hot.
Barely crisp in the morning, and then by 9 o'clock, it's bleh.
Blech. But Curtis,
Yes, Jacob.
if you recall,
I don't.
the witch's omened, not the witch's almond, the witch's omened. I don't.
The Witch's Omen.
The witch's omened. Just use
Wait, is it
the
omened?
dancing hut.
Like the ones who are omened by the witch? Or is
No,
it just
it's-
the
it's
witch's omen? No D.
Omen.
Oh, the witch's
No D.
omen. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that truly is Jake's just a little bit
Okay. No, I thought.
gotta get-
I mean, it could have been legit. Like the witches omened, like the ones who are
Yeah.
omened by the witch. Like
of.
I don't know.
I mean, that could have worked.
Could have worked.
But we went with the witch's omen. Yeah, but that so if what just recently happened was we found the three riders that were outside the dancing hut, and we started to explore the dancing hut. We were able to actually get into it, and then we used the keys to teleport. And we are in a completely new place now. We talked to the three liars seers, which were the crows, the weird cryptic Baba Yaga ravens. The crows that were the ravens, the crows. Oh shoot, I think
Probably
they were
ravens.
I think they were ravens. Ravens makes a little bit more thematic sense. But they
bigger,
gave
too.
us cryptic meaner. Especially that last one, which was an albino one that looked gnarly.
Ooh, it's like Quoth.
Yeah, it was creepy. But we got cryptic clues to where to find the next keys that we need in order to teleport to the new place. We came here to find more keys to take us to the place that we need to go, apparently. Lots of teleporting, lots of really fun times with the dancing hut. They had it was really fun exploring the dancing hut, and it
Super
completely
creepy.
changing around us.
I mean, it's
super
it's-
creepy.
It's literally just Doctor Who in there. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
basically.
just fantasy Doctor Who.
Yeah, I mean, or Doctor Who's more like the dancing hut. Anyway, so we and this is a little bit of a dips notes. I explained it like a triangle last time, and it was more like a Celtic knot with each of the doors, like how there's doorways like in a triangle format, but it was a little bit more of like a triangle Celtic knot type of
I see.
look.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more thematic that way. It wasn't like a perfect, just geometry triangle. A little bit more thematic that way. But we got that. We talked to a warlord that was like a guard that had been charmed by Baba Yaga. We may have to deal with him later, because trying to convince him that we're not intruders because we were inside the hut. But if we come back, he would consider us intruders. Yes. I'm going to just agree with... Yeah, very similar to that. It was very, very interesting with like kind of the center being where the cauldron was.
Oh.
Yeah. Very, very, a little bit more thematic.
Yeah.
Yeah, after talking to the warlord, we had exited the dancing hut in a completely different area. And almost immediately after getting out and kind of looking around, we were attacked by frost giants. And they were attacking us and the hut itself, it was really kind of like, it was kind of interesting because they kind of kept coming in waves. Like each start of a new turn, there were more frost giants kind of joining, and we were kind of getting to the point where like, oh man, we actually might need to start running or rush back into the hut. But that might be a little bit confusing for the guard. So we're kind of like a little bit like, what we're going to do.
Like, if you come back in, I'll kill you.
Basically, it's how it was. So we were a little bit like, oh man, what do we do? But it was at that moment where Dip had us all play boss music, and we took turns being the dancing hut. He shared the stat block with us, and we got to each take a turn playing as the dancing hut, which was very, very fun. It was just like, oh my gosh, it's like a CR 16 or 17 creature. So it had a bunch of awesome spells, and I believe our wizard, he did kind of something kind of fun where he like used Dimension Door to like teleport like 500 feet up in the air or something to come crashing down. I don't think it was quite that high, but he like teleported above to come crashing down on like 3 different giants. It was like, oh my gosh, did a crap ton of damage. Damaging the hut as well, but did more damage to the frost giants. Well, we dispatched the giants, and then we started to explore the place. We kind of started, I believe we used the path, like where the frost giants had come from. We were kind of following those tracks to kind of get out of this little area that we were following. And after some time, if I remember correctly, it was in game time, a few hours of us traveling, we ran across some centaurs. These centaurs were tracking the frost giants. So it was kind of, we ran into those. It was a little bit of a standoff at first because we were like, are they going to attack? But they were trying to talk to us. They were speaking a different language. Luckily, they spoke Sylvan, which my character Dara and our wizard speaks. They were able to kind of communicate that way. So that was kind of a little bit lucky on our part. So we were able to communicate, and then we kind of explained to them what we were. Kind of taking the honest route, because we're kind of like, at this point, do we need to just kind of embrace who we are and just like not tell anyone about Boggy? Or like, do we need to embrace who we are to just kind of be upfront about it because we're trying to find Baba Yaga's allies? Yeah. Or do we kind of need to be secretive? And we're kind of relying on Dara, and I feel like Dara would have been a little bit more honest about these things. Yeah. Because it's probably better for them to know and not find out anywhere else. So we agreed to they agreed to take us back to their hut. They are aware, or not their hut. They're kind of tribe, if you will. We kind of they knew of Baba Yaga's agents, but they were a little bit wary of us, and so we just kind of, they were basically, the centaurs were kind of like, we need to take you back to our chieftain, and we'll let him make this call because we don't know. Mainly because of what's kind of happening around us. We walk a little bit more, lots of walking in this campaign, and we get back to their tribe, and they take us straight to their chieftain. Their chieftain's name was Korgog. Korgog is how I believe that would be pronounced.
Koragog.
Koragog. Korkog. Yeah.
Korkog.
Anyway.
Korkog.
Yeah, that was the chieftain's name, and he was like, "What's up, everybody?" So he wasn't like that. It was kind of fun to see. Dip roleplayed him, I think, very well. It's very different than where we had previously come from. They kind of have a nobility, or not a nobility look, but a kind of a pride about them that I thought was coming through. But he explained that he was the chieftain. This was their encampment, and they know of Baba Yaga's agents, apparently. So this is kind of where we kind of get a lot of, kind of, I guess you would say, a lore dump. This would have been a lore dump session, because we learned a kind of a great many things about where we were. This is where we were confirmed we're in Iberia. This is where also we learned that this place has been ravaged by plagues.
Ooh.
So there's not many humans around here. That's why it was very odd to see us, who are kind of half elven and elven, and then a half orc as well. Like, I believe orcs were around, but seeing the mixture of human was a little bit odd.
Yeah.
Which is kind of explains why one of the keys was a plague mask.
Oh.
Also, a frost giant's beard. This is also where like giants and frost giants live as well. We learn that there are other centaur tribes around here, but they are more brutal. There is actually another tribe. I might have to go find that name of that tribe later. But they worship a demon lord. That apparently this demon lord hates Baba Yaga because some time ago, Baba Yaga had like tricked him. I'll have to go find the lore of that. There was, like I said, this was a lore dump session, and also us doing history checks to kind of see what we could glean and things like that. But apparently, there's a demon lord that that is like mortal enemies with Baba Yaga, and there's a different tribe of centaurs that worship this demon lord. We also ask him about the site that we probably need to go find, which is the three figures, the mother, maiden, and crone figures. We learned that this place was called, it was an ancient site of Artrosa. There are three ancient statues.
Okay.
Yeah, there are three ancient statues. And they do know of this place. And they do, essentially, for the fact that we were being so honest with them, the chieftain was kind of like, okay, we agree to help you as long as like no harm will come our way type of thing. So he was a nice guy, and it was kind of like this was like the first time I think we ran into a group that was like, yeah, we'll help you. Because up till now, it's kind of like anytime we run into Baba Yaga's agents, they're all like, give us these weird cryptic messages, like with the crows. So
yeah.
So he agreed to help us, and he told us tomorrow morning we will have a scout take you to this site and take you no further because they avoid this area. There's a lot of rumors about it. They explain that it's pretty much up at the top is where they believe the door is for these statues in order to get inside to the dungeon. And then they also explain that there's these willow wisps that's kind of like hang out around the middle of these figures. So as we like climb up, we'll need to be careful of those.
Willow the wisps.
Yeah.
Classic.
And most of Will the Wisps. And most of the things that they were kind of telling us was like, legends say this. We can't really confirm it, but that's just kind of what we have heard. So we're like, all right. And this is where we kind of get some really cool role play moments because we've been kind of going for at this point. It's like we had all the riddles to kind of go through and take a lot of notes on and the encounters with that. And then we had the encounter with the giants. And then we had some travel time. So this was kind of the first time we as players not a first time, it was in a while, have got a chance to like role play a little bit.
Yeah.
So we get to like learn a little bit more about our wizard friend. This is kind of interesting. If you recall Saurian, we know previously we've learned that he worked for the witches. He didn't really lead on to much, but he was a jeweler of some kind for them. And then he was supposed to kind of be helping one of them with a ring, and then as kind of a curse for failing, he got put into the ring, and that's how Dara found him.
Got it.
But we learn a little bit more about this, is that he explains that he was actually lovers with one of the queens previously. Now, this would have been a good, like, I'd have to go look, like 300 years ago or something like that.
Okay.
But he was actually lovers with the queen. And so it's kind of like a little bit more of a bittersweet type of, like he failed her. And so she took it as a betrayal and put him in the ring. So it was kind of a fun role play like stuff. And, I just remember talking about this with Sarah, was like, it's kind of cool to see that, like, because he he hasn't really blatantly said it, but I do believe Saurian's character is an evil aligned character. So this kind of explained a lot. He was usually very direct. Because Dara is a little bit more of the face, I don't think there was much for him to be able to, just go, not that evil characters just go out of their way to kill people for the fun of it. There's obviously some manipulation and some cunning and intelligence that goes along with it, and for reasons and purposes and things like that. Also, trying to probably blend in a little bit and not outright be evil. The really funny thing about this is that Nixia, Sarah's character, and our barbarian have a trait that they get a +1 to their saving throws if it's an evil spellcaster. So there has been a couple times where like Saurian has casted a spell on them, and it's been a classic thing of Sarah's character or Ethan's character to kind of be like, do I get a +1 because you're an evil spellcaster? So that's how it's been dropped on us before mechanically, but this was the first time I think we all kind of start realizing a little bit more about what's going on. So it's been kind of interesting. But yeah, so some great role play. I do remember there was some really fun role play where like Dara and Saurian are trying to set up the tents, and Nixia and Ethan's character, Nixia and Xavier are kind of watching us set up the tents, and we roll very poorly setting up the tents, and so they're waiting for the tents to fall on us that night and things like that. It was great camping role play moment.
Campsite antics.
Exactly. But the next day we meet the new centaur. She is a lady centaur, and her name is, I hope I pronounce this right, Edija.
Okay.
Edija.
So probably Edia, because
Edia,
it's all like Nordic stuff.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. Thank you, Curtis. We learned that she's very proficient with a bow, and she has some spells kind of later on, some conversations and things like that. She does speak common, so I guess they did have a centaur that spoke our language and was able to travel with us. We have some really interesting insights on just the area traveling with the scout. She tells us about there's a white dragon that's a very evil white dragon that kind of lives a little bit further north of where the tribe is. And we have to all talk Xavier from not going to fight an ancient white dragon because it's been terrorizing this land for like years, possibly centuries. We learned on that subject, we learned that there was a drake plague a while ago that killed a lot of the dragons in this area, upwards of 60%, very specifically in Sarah's notes. 60% of dragons apparently have died in this area due to a drake plague. Yeah.
Wow.
It was very sad.
But
apparently there was a white dragon that lived, so he's maybe angry about it.
Or he's really happy because he has less competition.
Maybe you're right. Maybe he got to go collect all the hordes of those dragons that died.
Yeah.
I bet that was pretty nice of him. This is where we have a couple random encounters. We do get attacked one of the nights by demons, which was the first time we've ever fought them.
Whoa. Okay.
And it was very evil looking creatures that happened. It was on Dara's watch because I rolled a natural 1 in my perception check, and they surprised us, and it could have been really bad, but luckily we got, like, everyone was able to wake up, and I think Dara got the final kill too. So
that's so like out of left field for how things have been going.
Very, very true. And that's how we all felt until we were reminded that there is another centaur tribe that worships a demon lord.
Oh, yeah.
So apparently that other tribe knows that we are here, and they don't like Baba Yaga's agents. So that was exactly what we were like, this is out of left field.
It's
it's
it's never the weak tribe or the weak people or the weak thieves guild that's got a problem with you. It always has to be the strongest, meanest guys around.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you have to imagine how evil they are worshiping a demon lord. So, yeah. So we're kind of like, okay, now we might have some on our trail, and we kind of need to be a little bit more on guard each night. I believe also because like I think everyone had to roll a perception check at disadvantage because they were asleep, because Dara rolled a natural 1. And I believed even at disadvantage, our scout rolled really well. And I think that's how they were able to not get a full surprise round on us, because that could have been really bad if I remember correctly. So that was kind of just some really intense role play, I guess you will. It was kind of fun. Dara was a little bit distraught about failing these things. And also for me, it was fun to kind of role play. It's like, okay, I got to start taking this a little bit more seriously from a Dara's mindset. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. We continue on, and this is where we ran into another fun random encounter, and it was really cool when Dip was explaining how this guy looked. Up in front of us, there was a very almost undead looking creature. He had this huge sword. Let me see if I can find it specifically. Whispers. All right, here it is.
Whispers.
A humanoid horned creature. Okay. It was the scout actually told us this was a fey creature. But it was really funny because like when Dip was explaining it, it was like this it had this huge weapon. It was humanoid. It had these antlers, and it had this ice armor across it. So we were almost thinking like it was some sort of like legend or like undead creature. And we wound up fighting it, and it was kind of funny because it was on a horse, and it was like when the combat started, it was 140 feet away. So it was kind of like we were rushing at it. Our barbarian and our fighter rolled really well, and our wizard was able to cast like fireball, which has like 150 feet of range. It was also vulnerable to fire damage. So quite literally, we felt so bad for Dip, because quite literally by the time it got to us, it had taken so much damage. And then the first one that ran into it was Xavier, because he's a barbarian who has a lot of movement speed, was able to get to a point and hold his action. Yeah. It was like from what I remember, we destroyed this creature, and Dip was really sad about it.
Yeah. That's a bummer. It happens.
But it was really big, really scary. He had this huge weapon. It was almost like an elk. It had this elk creature because of these antlers. Dip explained the story here, and I might have to go and ask him about it, because it truly had nothing to do with our story. It had something to do with I don't remember. It was like it was tracking something, and it left the Feywild to get to our world, and it lost track of the thing that it was tracking, and so it was kind of wandering at this point when it came across us. So it was like this completely little random story that happened in our campaign that was just like, well, that was kind of fun and kind of a fun little random encounter, and okay, now we're just moving on with our lives.
All right, well, what's next?
And then I started blasting, basically.
I started blasting.
We continue on. So a lot of travel. We had a lot of really fun role play from what I remember during this travel. This was also, we camped by a river one night, and this was when Dara used hypnotic pattern over the river, this water that we were by, to hypnotize fish. And our wizard used mage hand in order to pick up the fish that were hypnotized and bring it to shore. Kind of a fun little. We had to prove ourselves to the fighter and barbarian, who laughed at our tent making skills. Wow. So we decided to catch food, and Dara used a 3rd level spell slot in order to hypnotize fish. I believe I told you about this, and you explained it like spotlight fishing.
Yeah, spotlighting.
Where they
yeah.
Yeah.
You can actually catch fish that way if you go out with a crazy bright spotlight in the middle of the dark night, and you go out into shallow water and you just really quickly beam out this bright spotlight. It will literally like stun fish, and then you can just walk up and grab them out of the water because they're like,
yeah. What is that?
I'm blind.
It's like sensory overload, possibly.
It's like a UFO or something.
So that's kind of what we did. Dara used like this hypnotic pattern, and I explained it like these lights, these like almost like dancing lights, kind of coming across the water to hypnotize some fish. We caught a bunch of fish, and that's what we had for dinner that night. They had some great little sushi. We continued on, and we have came across, I will put the art up here. We finally came up to the 3 statue figures of the Maiden, Mother, and Crone. They are these huge statues, stoned statues. And from what I remember, explained, they're like miles apart from each other. But on this horizon that we're looking at, they look kind of like side by side because of perspective and stuff like that. But miles apart from each other. And we remembered what the moon was the previous night, which is the one that was for the maiden, which I'll have to go look that up. But I believe it was a waxing moon for the maiden. I'll have to go back and look. But it associated with the clues that we got from the ravens. And that's our next destination because of the phase of the moon that we're in. So we said farewell to our centaur scout, who started heading back to her tribe. And this is when Dara and Saurian used polymorph on themselves to turn them into giant eagles and start making our way to the maiden statue.
Fantastic.
This was kind of a wonderful way of bypassing the will-o-wisps, but if Jake and Dara could have remembered that, halfway through the flight, Dip explains these little lights that start coming up on the statue, and I was like, oh, this must mean something. Dara starts heading that direction. So he starts heading that direction, and it was at that moment that they started rushing at us, and I went, oh no, these are the will-o-wisps. We get in a brief fight with them. Luckily, giant eagles are faster than will-o-wisps, but one did get an opportunity attack. Yeah, a lot faster. Because of kind of how we were, and they kind of headed us off. Saurian was able to get past, and I believe there was an attack of opportunity at Saurian, but it was a miss, and he kept flying, and then using his dash to get going. Dara was not so fortunate. Dara got hit by the will-o-wisp. Now, the interesting thing with polymorph spell, Curtis, is that it's a concentration spell, and I feel like this is a rule that gets bypassed a lot by people, is that when you are, even though you're polymorphed, you are still technically concentrating on a spell. And if you take damage, you have to roll a concentration spell. I feel like that gets missed a lot. I don't know about me, but in a lot of media, I think I
feel like a lot of times people don't polymorph themselves. Usually they'll polymorph one of the other
something
people.
That when we finally got through this, this was Ross, and I was just like, oh, we have to polymorph other people. Like that's the better way to do that.
Well, because usually whatever you polymorph into is not going to have as good a concentration modifier as you would a con modifier as you would.
It's like, unless you're like a giant ape or something, they might have really nice constitution. But Dara gets hit, and at this point, I have to roll a Constitution saving throw in order to maintain concentration. And at this point, we are hundreds and hundreds of feet up in the air. Oh and Xavier is the one that's on Dara's back. So I was super nervous. When I rolled that con save, I was like, this could quite literally be the death of us, because this would be a lot of damage. And
Just
luckily,
recast it on your way down. You'll be fine.
I mean, that's what I was hoping for. This could have been at the point where I only had one 4th level spell slot, though.
Probably.
I can't remember what level we were.
Probably.
But Xavier might have been able to rage in half the damage. Dara does have a ring of Featherfall, so he would have been okay. It would have been Xavier that I would nervous about. But anywho, we also would have been... Okay. We also would have been fighting Will-O-Wisps probably on the way down. I don't know how that would have worked. Anywho, luckily, I roll a natural 20 on my Constitution saving throw. We all cheer, and we make our way to the top of the maiden statue. And at this point is probably where I will call it. And we will get back next time on the Backyard Tabletop when we get back to my side of the story on what the dungeon we are about to head into in order to see if we can find some keys in order to continue our search for Baba Yaga.
Aha. Gotta get more keys so you can start the car.
Start the car, right? Exactly. In this case, the Dancing Hut.
Yes. It's a nice car.
But yeah. Thank you so much for listening to my story, Curtis.
You're welcome, Jake. It was fun. It's a good story.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put out the fire now.
Yes, thank you. Practice safe fire making?
Yep. Always drown your fires.
Yes, always drown your fires. Smokey would very much
Don't just spray them out. Don't just spray it out. Because there's still cinders deep down in that wood.
Yep.
You got to drown the fire.
Yep.
Drown
this leads
it.
in perfect to our sponsor for this week, Smokey the Bear. Yes, everyone. Today we are getting into what? No, I'm just
I just.
Well, thank you all so much for listening to us talk about our wonderful little stories, about us rambling about D&D. Curtis, can you give us a little tease on what's going to get back when we get back to you guys? You don't have to do a tease. It could be more of like a little tidbit for next time. That sounds a better way to say that.
Little tidbit. So where we just left off, we found vampires. Weird. And Old Corvosa has become a quarantine that we can no longer trespass upon. And even the dark underbelly criminal groups have gone upended by this disease. So now we have nothing left to do but follow the 3 leads we have left. And we decide, after much trying to figure out what actually seems like a good idea, because none of them sound good, we decide, well, we should probably go check on why this temple that worships a devil is collecting blood. So that
sounds lovely.
That's where we're headed first.
Well, I'm excited to hear that story. I hope you are all excited to hear that story, and tune in next time to hear Curtis's lovely voice.
It's gonna be great. Oh,
it's gonna be great. Yeah, I'm here for it. Maybe one day it's just gonna be transitioning into just audiobooks, but just adventures with Curtis. Audiobook
Welcome
Adventures
back
with Curtis.
To Adventures with Curtis. This week.
Specifically.
And also Jake's here.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you all so much for being here. I have been Jake.
I've been Curtis, and your secret comment this week is Horseman.
Horseman. That's a good one.
Horseman.
Like it.
Horseman.
Horseman.
No hyphen. You can hyphenate. You can hyphenate it if you want. You can hyphenate it
with an E or an A. Horsemen or horseman?
A horseman, like horse hyphen MAN. Horseman. A man that's also a horse and also a man.
Yeah, he was crazy. We'll see you next time, everybody.
Bye.